The intelligent world has arrived. Huawei Enterprise Business Group adheres to the platform plus ecosystem strategy and is working with partners to provide ubiquitous connectivity and intelligence for government and enterprise customers. The digital platform aims to support customers' digital transformation and to bring digital to every organization. Reputable companies around the world are choosing Huawei as their partner in digital transformation. Enterprise business is becoming the main engine of Huawei's growth. Huawei focuses on ICT infrastructure to build ubiquitous connectivity. They promote the implementation of intent-driven networks in various enterprise scenarios and the extensive application of wireless private networks. Huawei uses AI to build pervasive intelligence and team up with customers and partners for joint IT innovation. Huawei's integrated communications technology is accelerating enterprise office digitization. In the enterprise IoT market, Huawei enables industrial digital transformation through ubiquitous connectivity, cloud services, and AI. Huawei has been exploring and implementing the most effective practices of digital transformation with leading enterprises and governments around the world, leading global smart city development, promoting civic harmony to city residents, accelerating financial institutions' transformation, innovating in the energy field, advancing transportation digitization, Huawei strives to innovate together with partners throughout a variety of different industries. Open labs have become an ideal place for industry players to explore and develop unique solutions. And regarding ICT services, Huawei has become a first choice for many. In the future, the Enterprise BG will continue to accelerate industrial digital transformation, focus on creating customer value, and build a digital platform to achieve data convergence. The platform will become a key tool to help industry enterprises carry out digital transformation and become the foundation for us to lead the world into a digital future.
Established in 1875, the Bombay Stock Exchange, or BSE, is India's and also Asia's oldest stock exchange. BSE is the world's fastest stock exchange, and as of July 2017, it was the world's 12th largest.
We give a response time of 6 microseconds. So to maintain this criticality and also the uptime, it's very, very important that your networks, your systems, your infrastructure has to be of the world-class standards. You can't have anything which is lower than that.
BSE's 500 servers needed to meet basic high bandwidth and low latency requirements. The original storage system was outdated and had reached its end-of-life stage, which led to high maintenance costs.
We used to use Huawei. They were more strong on the networking side. Again, we knew them from the networking side, but there is very little presence in the country or the support available in the country then. So our challenge to them was to can they demonstrate the POCs, and they set up the labs with us. They assured us that their systems are capable of running it, and they proved it, and we started utilizing it, and we started small, but now we are very comfortable and we are using quite a lot of Huawei servers also in our core trading platforms also.
Huawei has a full-stack ICT platform that supports cloud pipe device collaboration that can help BSE build core trading and big data infrastructure on the Huawei digital platform.
We have been using their routers, Huawei routers. We use the NE40 series. We are using their ocean storage also for our NAS kind of equipment. We use their servers also in our trading platforms. We are using their high density also servers which are coming out. We are trying to use them for our Hadoop cluster. So now slowly we are trying to build the Huawei stack also.
Huawei used a converged and flash-optimized design for its OceanStor 5500 V3. This allowed them to achieve a low latency of less than 1 millisecond for all flash configurations. This solution is ideal for stock trading scenarios. Huawei's technologies effectively helps BSE to be one of the fastest stock trading exchanges.
Huawei is one of the technologically very competent, and we have not found any issues so far, and whatever we wanted we have been able to get from them. So I think they are one of the competitive.
Hello, and thank you for joining the Huawei Global FSI Summit 2020. Wherever you are in the world, welcome. This event is brought to you by Huawei Enterprise Group Global Financial Services Business Unit. This is Ben Yan, Vice President of Huawei Global FSI team. I'm your host today. I'm speaking to you today from Huawei's headquarters in Shenzhen, China. Over the next 2 days, we're going to explore how the financial industry can thrive digitally in a mobile future, a question that, with recent global events, has become more present than ever before. Let's get started and hand straight over to Mr. Peng Zongyang, Director of the Board and President of Huawei Enterprise Business Group. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. On behalf of Huawei Enterprise BG, I would like to welcome you to join our Global FSI Summit 2029. Thank you for your attention and long-standing support. Today, I would like to share with you our experience over the past year and our thoughts on the future of financial services industry. 2019 was a tough year probably for everyone, Huawei included. Fortunately, we have embraced the challenges quite well and kept our focus on create value for our customers. This is why many of them still choose Huawei as their like-minded partner. As a result, our annual sales revenue in 2019 exceeded $122 billion, up 19.1% year-on-year, and our overall operation remained robust. Let me thank you once again for your support. One key lesson we have learned from the pandemic is that mankind is a community of shared future. Global pandemic prevention and control efforts have clearly showed the strength of the digital world. If this pandemic happened just 100 years ago, we have suffered much more. But today, digitalization played a critical role in effective pandemic prevention. Online services have brought huge opportunities for us to go fight against the pandemic. After the pandemic, I believe digital life will become essential. Based on cloud compute, big data, AI, 5G, and other ICT technologies, innovative fintech will embrace new opportunities and lead the upgrade of financial services. To cope with the changes for enterprise in the financial services industry, we have combined our 30 years of technical experience, capabilities, and industry insights with customer needs to provide competitive financial ICT products and solutions. Globally, we have developed more than 140 leading independent software vendors in the financial services industry for partnership. Use our ICT strengths. Huawei helps the industry to become more open, involved, and intelligent based on platform data and services. For example, AI and 5G technologies enable mobile bank and intelligent branch to provide financial services anytime, anywhere. To date, Huawei has served more than 1,600 financial customers worldwide, including 45 of the world's top 100 banks. We have also established strategic partnership with more than 20 large-scale banks, insurance companies, and security companies around the world. We have become a trusted strategic partner for the digital transformation of our customers. Digital transformation is inevitable, and we believe that financial institutions are ready to go digital. We will see great success. Over the next 2 days, we will invite industry thought leaders, experts, analysts, and Huawei representatives to share how we can respond and transform through technology in the post-pandemic era. Let's thrive digitally in a mobile future together. Finally, I wish everyone good health and success in business. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peng. Periods of disruption force us to take proactively measures to tackle. Long-term digital transformation planning is even more important to invest. Coming next, let's turn to Jason Chao, the president of Huawei Global Financial Services Business Unit, who is going to explore not only how we can survive, but also how we can thrive. Welcome.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Huawei's 8th FSI Summit and the first online summit. As you know, for the last few years, we have held this event in China. And in the beginning of this year, we were thinking that probably if we do it in China, maybe not so fresh for you anymore. We were thinking to have a special one outside China. Actually, we had an idea to do it in Singapore. Right now, I'm talking to you from our Shenzhen headquarters in this online meeting. We couldn't meet together, but it's really a special one. As you know, 2020 is a tough year, and this unparalleled disruption across the world have impacted all industries. All of us are fighting against the pandemic. So firstly, I'd like to express my gratitude to all our customers, and I hope all people will stay healthy. Well, everyone stayed at home, especially the FSI companies had to continue to provide essential services. Facing the challenges, many of these efforts have relied on elements of digital. So over the next 2 days, you will hear from the industry leaders about their experience. So I do believe this sharing will help you in your own digital journeys. So we won't be able to end these days with a happy hour, but I think that your time will be well spent. So firstly, I'd like to give you a briefing about our progress. Thanks to our customers, you allow us to become your partner. So Huawei is rapidly moving to a major position in the FSI field. So till now, we are proud that we have already served more than 1,600 FSI customers across the world. There's already more than 60 countries with our presence. And here, our customers include 45 banks of the global top 100. As you know, 2019 is a tough year for Huawei due to the well-known reason. But we have not only managed it very well, but also won the trust from many new customers. In last year, we added more than 300 new FSI customers, and we are really proud of that achievement. It also shows that customers make their decisions because of the competitiveness of our solutions and the value they see Huawei can bring to them. So here are some examples from the industry leaders. In 2019, we have won new contracts and built partnerships with a lot of top banks, insurers, security companies, like in France, Italy, Singapore, Brazil, Turkey, and India, and so on. We try to help them to improve our customers' existing systems' performance and reliability, increase the robustness of their digital foundation, so where Huawei is becoming a more and more important partner for their digital transformation success. So this success showcases the depth and breadth of Huawei's products and our capability. And in last year, we have also achieved a very good progress in building a robust ecosystem of our partners whose capability complement Huawei's own. These partners provide unique solutions to help FSI companies move forward rapidly on their digital transformation. And we are very proud that they have chosen to work with us. As you can see here, working with the leading partners like Terminals, Sunlight, Forms, and so on. Together, we have built the distributed banking platform, created new digital cores, set up a microloan platforms, and even created a convergent data lake in different countries. So where we have helped banks to build a new mobile and cloud-based system and help more and more unbanked people to access and enjoy the banking service. So for us to develop ecosystem is one of our major focuses. We are working very hard on that. For example, we want an African bank who can use a Chinese or European AI partners' outbound call services on our cloud. So our aim is to build a comprehensive ecosystem with Huawei's fast expanding cloud service around the world. So I also would like to tell a few words about our progress in China. Huawei has been already the #1 partner in Chinese FSI market. Here in China, under the increasing competence pressure from the internet giants, the financial organizations, the banks have already been accelerating their shift towards digital transformation. So we are significantly participating in this transformation. For example, ICBC, the largest bank, last year just completed the migration from the traditional platform onto Huawei's Gauss data warehouse platform with a very big scale of data, which enables them to do better customer behavior and business performance analysis. And also, CCB is migrating their credit card core system, which backbone around 130 million retail customers from the mainframe to a new open distributed platform. Huawei is a close partner on this journey by supplying the ICE and the PaaS platform and helping craft the overall migration strategy. Another case, the Bank of China, for example, they picked a different route towards cloud-based future. So instead of tackling the core banking system first, it began with the peripheral system 3 years ago, and now its payment processing system, e-commerce system, and call center system are up and running on Huawei's cloud platform. We have many such cases, even including the smart branch and so on. So, because of the big tech's unique position here, the financing industry is really competitive. But interesting, the unique experience here is really essential to all of you. So this year, the COVID-19 suddenly hit. As your company struggled to provide essential services, so Huawei did the same. With all of Huawei's efforts, we put customer first and leverage all of our global capabilities to support our customers' business continuity. Our global support capability allowed us to respond to the urgent requests from our customers around the world for urgent delivery, for increased digital support, and keep the data center service running well. And during the pandemic, when all of your experts are in their homes, so remote POC is needed. So far, we have already done more than 500 times remote POC successfully. Using our unique environment, customers can do all the configurations, load test, and feature testing without leaving their homes. And also, as you know, since Chinese banks were the earlier ones to experience the disruption this year, so they have already built up a wealth of knowledge about how to deal with the lockdown, how to do remote working, and even how to deal with the massive closing of branches. So in the last days, we from the headquarters have done many meetings with customers from more than 50 banks around the world to share the best experiences and also change a lot of insights. So this is what we have done. Let's talk about future. So there are huge unknowns as we face in the post-pandemic time. All areas of life and business has been disrupted. It won't return to where they were before. So the new normal is already here. The global economy is being impacted in a major way. The messages from these pictures here are extremely clear that our life, our work, and commerce are shifting. And we have to think about how to tackle it. What will that mean for us? We can get clues from studying what we have already seen. The shrinking of global economy will have the impacts on banks' loss reserves. Even with central bank intervention, that impact is likely to be large. For example, Twitter has already announced that no employee will ever have to come to the office in the future. Banks are not going that far. But Deutsche Bank in Beijing is moving to shared desks and reducing the office footprint substantially. Wealth management is the area where most banks have seen huge changes in customer behavior, driven by the ability to handle consultancies and transactions digitally, as well as being driven by customers having more time worry about their investment. So over the right side, you can see how some of our customers responded to those impacts. I won't go through them individually, but I want to highlight China Merchants Bank being able to issue large amounts of corporate loans through contactless process with very short time in February this year. And China Life being able to hold remote training for 1.3 million agents. So a digitally well-prepared company will thrive in the future. As I mentioned, that recently we have been holding workshops with executives of many banks, and this chart in the left-hand side shows the area they think are important in dealing with the new normal. The biggest bubble is for remote work and business agility. But if you look through all of them, you will find that the common thread is that FSI companies must move more quickly to a digital world. In the digital world, there are e-commerce trend, digital payment trend, and super app mobile trend. They have to redesign the BCM, including how to go to mobile work, the customer journey, risk management, and internal control. This is also the time to more quickly in the digital transformation journey and look at how to apply new technologies such as 5G, IoT, to make the journey more successful. Here, we have the opportunity to really move quickly, to allow us to turn the current adversity into a long-term competitiveness. The key is business agility. When we are entering a digital world, we will work all time with mobile. The connectivity is becoming extremely critical as we have to engage with our customers and ecosystems everywhere at all time by multimedia. So 5G will not just be used as a new way of connection for branches, but will bring multi-way of customer engagements and new services, we believe. So a powerful real-time connectivity will be needed everywhere. So here is where 5G, IoT, and flexible networking are the key technologies. With assured connectivity, you will build a full set of digital capability. This includes not only traditional IT, but increasingly the use of public cloud and hybrid cloud to optimize the platform with AI everywhere. Having connectivity and digitalization will provide you with the business agility needed to truly thrive in the new normal. Okay, let's look at how Huawei can help banks and FIs in this area of building a mobile-centric capability. So this chart is a little bit busy, but the key concepts are that, everything about banking will revolve around mobile. And we do believe that the mobile capability will be the core skill of the future banks, not only for dealing with customers, but for doing your internal business and working with your ecosystem partners. The main battlefield of the bank will be mobile app. Digital customer acquisition will be about how to increase the mobile traffic, and the bank's app will become the core operation focus. So, supporting this mobile-centric business will require new IT architectures and key capabilities of 5G, AI, and cloud. Huawei, as the leading player of all these technologies, have the unique advantage to support you, not only in the cloud infrastructure, but also to deploy new agile capabilities such as microservices, DevOps, machine learning, and so on. In addition to that, as you know, over the last 10 years, we have accumulated enough experience globally, especially in China market. We got experience with the leading banks' transformation against the big tech's attack, and this experience about how to survive in the mobile app area. So we are very happy to share all of them. And we are ready to go forward with you to the mobile digital world. In the next 2 days, the industry leaders will share their experiences and insights. I'm sure you will learn a lot. Thanks again. I wish all of you a good health and enjoy this meeting.
Thank you, Jason. 5G is hot. 5G-powered finance is even hotter. Intelligence and connectivity will reshape traditional financial services models into something more. Today, we have the honor to have the president of SPD Bank of China, Mr. Pan Weidong, joining us to share their stories.
女士们、先生们，大家好。
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and good afternoon. It's a great pleasure to attend Huawei Global FSI Summit. Shanghai Pudong Development Bank, SPD Bank, has studied and innovatively applied technologies such as 5G, IoT, and AI since 2018. We're the first bank to release the 5G-powered banking white paper and 5G plus smart branches. Today, I'd like to share with you some of our thoughts and practices of 5G in finance. Number one, 5G ushers in an intelligently connected era. When 4G emerged, we only knew that it made network access faster, but did not foresee that it would completely change our way of entertainment, social networking, and shopping. Mobile payment, online shopping, live streaming, and online cab hailing have become an essential part of our lives. Our main service channels have also shifted from physical branches and e-banking to mobile banking. In 2019, 5G entered commercial use in China. 5G is the key to modern mobile communications technologies. Together with AI, IoT, cloud, and big data, 5G is leading us into a world of intelligent connectivity, where physical and digital worlds are connected. What will it bring? First, ubiquitous connections will stimulate huge network effects. 5G will effectively drive IoT development and make digital connections possible where they used to be difficult and remove digital silos. Machines on the assembly lines, containers in ports, and visitors to amusement parks can now all be connected. According to Huawei GIV, by 2025, ubiquitous connections for consumers as well as public utilities, manufacturing, healthcare, and agriculture sectors will reach 100 billion scale. At that time, we will say goodbye to the concept of offline. The value of internet comes from things on the internet. As we connect more people, things, and data through 5G, the power of internet will grow exponentially. Ubiquitous connections bring huge network effects and unprecedented economic development opportunities. Second, technological convergence will make the society more intelligent. 5G is not simply one technology or one network, but rather it is a catalyst to accelerate the integration and innovation of information technologies and verticals. For example, in the smart city, IoT sensors on devices are like neurons that collect large amounts of diverse data in real time. 5G accelerates the flow of data and continuously feeds the brain of the cities. It also converts data flows into intelligence, guiding the operations of the society. In addition, 5G activates Ultra HD video and AR and VR and removes the transmission bottleneck of industrial internet. It will also stimulate the development of connected vehicles. The integration of 5G and next-generation IT is not a simple addition. It is a multiplication that will upgrade sectors to be more digital and intelligent, and will in the end achieve the effective collaboration between people and things, between things and between the digital and physical worlds. Third, industrial innovation boosts economic development. Intelligent connectivity is an accelerator for the digital world. The technical transformation led by 5G will accelerate the innovation and development of various sectors. Apart from smart home and smart city, more models will emerge, such as smart grid, telemedicine, smart ports, and smart tourism. Thanks to 5G's wide coverage, low latency, and security features. This pandemic has seen the rise of online consumer behaviors. People's activities are moving from offline to online. Online office, education, and contract signing services have shown us the great value of the digital world in an extreme circumstance. Driven by these factors, industry upgrade and industrial internet will definitely become the new focuses in the next phase of economic development. In the era of intelligent connectivity led by 5G, social governance, economic development, and public services are undergoing transformation. Resources, processes, and models in the physical world are reconstructed by the logic of the digital world. Some call it bits guiding atoms. The banking sector also should get rid of the constraints of traditional mindset and rethink the financial service models of the future. Intelligent connectivity of everything also accelerates the financial service innovation. SPD Bank has deployed 5G, IoT, AI, and cloud computing technologies since 2018. We've been committed to customer centricity and use 5G and other technologies to innovatively build customer experience, business models, and open ecosystem, and expand the breadth and depth of financial services. First, improving customer service experience. Customer is at the core of our enterprise. Banks should focus on customers, innovate financial services, and improve their experience. 5G gives us new opportunities. First, we can extend services without boundaries. Banking services will be available not only in banks and branches, but everywhere. Ubiquitous connectivity on 5G network can efficiently extend services to customers' operations and real-life scenarios and provide high-quality audio and video interactions and immersive experiences using AR and MR. Second, we can make professional services more inclusive. SPD Bank has developed an AI-powered virtual employee, Xiaopu. It represents the next-generation service model based on HUI, bridging the physical and the digital world. With professional training, Xiaopu can provide online risk assessment, financial consulting, investment advice, and news broadcasting. In the 5G network environment, it can work on many devices, such as mobile phones, smartwatches, and cars, making high-quality, personalized, and intelligent services more accessible and inclusive. Third, we can make services more targeted. In the world of intelligent connectivity, we can detect customer requirements in real time and respond intelligently. Based on the positioning and feedback information from customers' wearables, we can provide suitable suggestions on wealth management, investment, and retail. For example, we can seamlessly identify a customer in a branch and work with the intelligent backend engine to send the customer potential requirements and service preferences to the tablets of the branch personnel, who will then provide customized services. We hope to deliver ultimate service experience, remove distances in communication, and meet their requirements. Second, innovate business management models. Intelligent connectivity of everything can help banks evolve business model transformations. In terms of optimizing operations, 5G can help branches implement remote control and flexible deployment of branches. VR, audio, video recordings enable online and cloud-based customer service scenarios, such as personal loans and wealth management consulting. For strengthening risk control models, 5G can match business flows, logistics flows, and information flows with the capital flow and draw risk profiles of business entities accurately, such as customers, businesses, and goods, to support risk control. Last year, we worked with Huawei jointly to develop a forest shop vehicle monitoring platform for inventory management, which remotely monitors the mortgaged vehicles and manages the entire handover process online. The platform can automatically take stock of vehicles in forest shops and verify the consistency between the actual goods and the inventory. This way, we can detect business exceptions and alarms based on mortgage enterprise operational data and overcome the challenges such as that exist in traditional monitoring, such as distribution over geographies, information being mismatched, and poor risk control and high cost. Third, build a cross-industry ecosystem. The society is advancing supply-side structural reform and promoting the integration of the real and digital economy. Against this backdrop, banks should become enablers to unleash the economic potential of the society. 5G opens up a new field for the banking sector, cross-industry innovation for verticals. Our bank should seize the industry digitalization opportunity, embed business operations into the real economic scenarios through fintech innovation. First, we should focus on traditional industries and serve the real economy. The intelligent connectivity of everything accelerates the digitalization of traditional manufacturing enterprises. Data will become the core asset of industrial internet. Based on the production and operational data collected from enterprises, as well as industry and commerce authorities and taxation data, banks can establish digital twins for the enterprises and build a digital credit system and evaluation model to comprehensively and dynamically evaluate enterprise asset quality, data assets, and insurance credit rating. In addition, according to the financial status of enterprises, we can offer financial analysis, market trend analysis, and supply-demand matching services. By being integrated into the enterprise's operational value chain, we can precisely serve and enable small and medium-sized enterprises and support the growth of real economy. Second, innovate financial services using emerging technologies. Thanks to 5G, smart cities, smart farms, and autonomous driving will become a reality. These new fields will bring about new requirements for the financial sector. For example, in V2X scenario, we can provide e-wallet for vehicles and build an intelligent vehicle identity authentication system to support secure transaction links and seamless payment. This function can be used in the payment of electric vehicle charging. Furthermore, based on smart home services, we can build a home-based big data analysis model for customers to understand their financial service requirements in advance and offer personalized experience. Number 3, building digital competitiveness through technology. When we look forward to the opportunities of ICT upgrade and evolution, we notice that the challenges brought about by new technologies, new business models cannot be underestimated. Banks must embrace new technologies to build competitiveness. At the beginning of this year, SPD Bank established our 3-year action plan. The goal is to build ourselves into a world-class joint stock commercial bank with international competitiveness and to become a pioneer in the high-quality development of financial sector. We hope to strengthen open banking and full-stack digitalization and create new economic drivers by focusing on customer experience and digital technology. The full-stack digitalization is a new concept that we're talking about this year, and it's crucial. From the strategic perspective, we will promote data operations, technological upgrading, and cross-industry collaboration. First, we need to build a data-driven mindset and fully leverage the values of data. 5G will accelerate the transformation of social production and day-to-day operation to be online, digital, and intelligent. It will lead to an explosive growth of data. Data has value and is key to efficient collaboration and high-quality development. Banks should establish a data-driven mindset. That is, we need to shift from the traditional way of selling services and products to being data-driven and algorithm-driven. This is crucial. On the one hand, we need to lay a solid foundation of data. We need to be forward-thinking when we draft the planning of data, so that we integrate internal and external data and enhance data governance. On the other hand, we need to unleash the value of data. We can adopt IoT, AI, and blockchain technologies to enter into the real scenarios of requirements, to quickly detect and respond to customer requirements. That includes tracking the whole process of supply chain and proactively predict risks. Data and intelligence can be used to enable and serve our customers, including services, marketing, risk control, operations, and even used to innovate our management models of operations to build a data-driven bank. Second, develop technology to drive innovation. SPD Bank has been committed and will continue to develop technical capabilities to enable customer services, marketing, operations, and risk compliance, to extend the scope of digital services and innovate business models. Technology is the only force that disrupts traditional business model of banks. Keeping up with the technical development, we have defined 10 key technology stacks. We focus on the importance of research into 5G, AI, IoT, and blockchain to develop technology-driven business innovation capability and consolidate our IT infrastructure of cloud, big data, and distributed computing to provide a powerful foundation for digitalization. In addition, we also construct a network security defense system where we have a very ambitious plan. It's quite ahead of our era. We want to build real-time threat awareness, dynamic defense, multi-level protection mechanisms to cope with the ever-changing threats in the internet security domain. We're also continuously exploring innovative models and building multi-layered innovation systems, ecosystems to be exact. Internally, we have removed organizational silos and set up cross-department innovation teams to integrate business with technology. Externally, we have established 9 joint innovation labs with leading tech firms such as Huawei, Baidu, and IBM. By matching technical innovation with financial scenarios, we want to build an accelerator for digital transformation. Joint innovation labs have worked quite well and enabled us to exchange ideas with the top minds in the tech sector. Third, strengthen industry integration to serve the real economy. One of the most important differences between 4G and 5G is that 5G faces not only individuals, but also verticals. In a later stage of 5G commercial use, the focus will be on vertical sectors, such as healthcare, transportation, power, etc., to accelerate digitalization of the industries. Economy is the body and finance is the blood. Therefore, we should speed up the integration between finance and other sectors. We can deep dive into the enterprise production and operations to understand customer pain points and requirements, develop integrated service capabilities to provide finance and non-finance solutions, packaged solutions. For example, during the pandemic, we've provided not only financing and payroll services for Xibei Catering Company, we've also utilized our online sales service platforms by leveraging our customer base and channels for Xibei. In the future, we'll accelerate the construction of open banking service platforms for enterprises, individuals, and governments to be integrated into industrial internet and build a new ecosystem. This is the second battlefield. 5G is ushering in an era of intelligent connectivity. Facing transformation driven by technologies, SPD Bank will continue to strengthen cross-industry cooperation and innovation to create infinite possibilities with connectivity and inspire strength with intelligence, serve the industry ecosystem with fintech, and work together to achieve high-quality social and economic development for a better future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pan. Singapore is an acknowledged leader in the global financial market. DBS has been named the best bank of the world for several times. So, how is DBS tackling the pandemic period through technologies? Jimmy N, Group CEO of DBS Bank, can tell us more about that.
First of all, really thank you for inviting me to this FSI conference. I remember 2 years ago, I think 2-3 years ago, my colleague and I make a presentation on the DBS transformation journey in Shanghai in the same conference that you had, but this time virtually. So I'm very glad to be back here again to tell you about the continuation of our transformation. What I'd like to do in the next 20-30 minutes is to actually look at and go out and actually recap the way that we have been looking at the DBS transformation. And in the very typical way of looking at it is that you can actually look at our transformation journey in different chapters. I call it the trilogy of DBS transformation. I think if you look at it in chapter 1, the inside out to outside in view, actually it spanned from 2009 to about 2014. And that's where we actually started looking at our whole entire DBS culture. How do we become more customer-centric? In the next chapter, which is Riding the Digital Wave, it actually spanned from about 2015 to about 2019. this is the time where we actually started the whole entire digitalization of the bank. And in many ways, when I talk about this transformation story in the last couple of years, a lot of people have always been asking me, so what's the third chapter? And this year, 2020, is the year that we actually started thinking about what's next for DBS in the whole entire transformation. And what was really interesting is that in the course of this, COVID-19 came about, and it sort of like disrupted our thinking around the future of banking. So what I'll do is to cover in chapter 3, in the third part of the installation, is to actually give you a quick glimpse of what we've been thinking about and how the future of banking will be different, and how we, from the technology perspective, need to actually change as well. So all I'll do is to actually give you a very quick recap of chapter 1 and chapter 2 before I dive into chapter 3. So if you think about chapter 1, the inside out to outside in, it's really about changing the culture and the DNA of DBS. So if you go back to 2009, we have a strategy intent to be the Asian bank of choice. And it's actually very important to actually understand that when we actually talk about the Asian bank of choice, it means that the customer must choose us, which means that we have to really reorientate our thinking, to the customer. And DBS before year 2009, in fact, during that time, was actually very internally focused. And the way that we've always been articulating, our services and some of our challenges has always been from the inside-out perspective. And it's no wonder, I think, if you actually look at the chart on the right, when you actually look at the customer satisfaction index, for Singapore, for financial services and banks, we actually are at the rock bottom amongst all the banks. And it is a reflection of our whole entire customer focus. In fact, more of the internal focus that we have. So we started doing quite a lot of work and try to make improvements to this whole entire customer-centric DNA. There are a few programs that we run. I think the first one you see on the top left-hand corner is this acronym RED, which is interesting because it stands for being respectful, easy to deal with, and being dependable. And this is a program that we run across the entire bank, not just for the frontliners. So we run quite a few programs. I think the first one is right at the bottom, PIE, stands for Process Improvement Events. So we also started this 4Ds framework in terms of going to actually discover what the customer really wants. It's really understanding the job to be done. Many times we always think, what we know to be what customer wants, and very often that is actually quite different from what the customer wants. And then we iterate that again with the customers. The last bit of the program that we run was the HCD. It stands for Human-Centered Design. This is really about getting people to design systems, design our workflow from the customer perspective and from human centricity. And we actually trained about 2005 employees, during that period to really go to understand how to actually do human-centered design. So while we transform our entire customer-centric DNA, we also started looking at our whole entire application and infrastructure landscape. I think if you see that in the diagram, we have the way we look at our systems and application, we actually bucket them into 3 broad buckets: buy, sell, and hold. In the diagram, you see red means that systems that we do not want to continue using. Green, which is the buy classification, is the systems that we want to actually cascade to the rest of the countries. All means that those are the systems that we are able to actually continue using and be able to actually re-platform it later. So as you can see in 2009, there are a lot of other systems in which that we were planning to decommission. Across the countries as well as the product line, I think there was a lot of work to be done to be able to consistently roll out a single platform to the business, the local, and the location. So by 2014, we largely have fixed most of the problem, with exception of a few mainframe systems that we are continuing in that decommissioning journey. So that actually allowed us to set a very good platform, both from the systems perspective as well as the culture and DNA perspective. And those initiatives drove us to the top of the customer experience chart, as you can see from the picture on your right. And that was really a phenomenal feat to actually be able to transform a culture and the whole entire application and infrastructure landscape in a short span of 5 years. So all were now looking good. We were doing very well. And, we were actually looking to actually acquire banks in Indonesia. And the chapter 2 of the story is about how we actually started our whole entire digital transformation. And it actually started from our whole plan to acquire Bank Danamon in Indonesia. And of course, that didn't happen. And when we started looking at how we're going to expand our entire footprint, in the overseas location, we actually come to this realization that the cost of actually expanding our footprint is going to be quite significant if you were to do it through the brick and mortar approach. At the same time, on the left-hand bottom, you can see that the fintechs were starting to unbundle banking in the payments area, in the lending area, and so forth. They're slowly chipping away some of our products and services. And more importantly, I think on the top right-hand corner, you see that the globalization of the entire platform giants. I think what we see is Alibaba, Tencent, Baidu, and all these companies, big platform companies, are beginning to start doing banking activities as well. So those were the competitive threats, and the world was changing around us, and we really had to actually start thinking, how do we fend off all these threats without the cost, in actually expanding it through the brick and mortar way. So, we decided that, digital is the way to go. And we also started the journey, to become the best bank in the world. And there are actually 3 pillars, for us to actually do that. First is becoming digital to the core, embed in our customers' journey, as well as creating a 28,000 person startup. I'll not go through, these 3 pillars in detail, but let me focus on the first part of becoming digital to the core. And I have to tell you that the journey in this chapter spanned from 2014 to about 2019, and part of our 2020 this year as well. And to become digital to the core, we started this whole entire journey of being the D in Gandalf. As you can see in the acronym, Gandalf actually comprised of Google, Amazon, Netflix, Apple, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And being the D in Gandalf means that we want to operate and behave and run the company like a technology company. And that's where we actually get our inspiration from and learn from these big tech giants, how they operate, and able to bring the best practices of these tech giants into the bank and be able to run DBS, a technology company. So there were quite a few things that we have done. We have made substantial progress. And first and foremost, the thing that we wanted to do was to really modernize our whole entire infrastructure and application. We built our VPC from scratch. We didn't go out to the public cloud in the beginning. And that allowed us to actually virtualize our applications And today we have like 99% of our application being virtualized. On the application side, the existing applications, we need to make them cloud ready. And in 2029, we were at 90.7% of the existing to be converted to be cloud ready. And by this year, we will be able to achieve 97% of our application. So the modernization of the infrastructure and the application was actually one of the key components of the whole entire digitalization journey. Second, I think with this virtualization, we managed to achieve a drastic reduction of our data center space, 75% to be exact. But at the same time, when we reduce the data center space, we managed to grow our capacity by 10 times. And if you actually look at the chart at the bottom, despite of running 2 times the server, you can actually see a decrease in the power usage. So the 2 times power efficiency was actually achieved in these modern data centers. On top of that, if you actually look at the way that we operate right now, our system admin to operating system ratio is 1 to 540 virtual machines. It's 11 times more than what we had in 2015. So on top of modernizing our apps, infrastructure, data center, we also adopted agile way of working. We adopted DevOps and also agile that resulted in greater experiment, speed, and productivity. The release cadence, between 2014 to today is about 10 times. If you actually look at the bottom right-hand chart, today we have 300,000 automated builds, and 30,000 code releases in a single month. On top of that, one of the things that we also started looking at in our whole entire ground off program was to actually embed mobility first in our employees. If you actually look at it, we have installed WebEx Cisco for video conferencing, as well as the widespread use of Office 365. And this is actually very critical, which you will see later in the next chapter. The other area that we started looking at was site reliability engineering. That enable us to actually build efficient and highly observable systems with speed and velocity. So this is nothing new. I think this is one of the practice that Google has created, and we actually took a leaf from the Google playbook and looked at site reliability engineering from the way we design our architecture, the way we design our code, the way we build our code, test, and launch our systems. And on top of that, what we have done as well is to create visibility and monitoring capability, for the entire infrastructure as well as the application performance. And if there's an incident, how do we manage the incident as well as to do a post-mortem? This is something in which that we launched about 3 years ago. And throughout this period, we have made about 300 recommendations to improve the whole entire customer experience and production stability. Just to give you one example of what we have done, this technique of approach called chaos engineering. Again, we actually learned this from Netflix, chaos testing. In Netflix, you have this thing called Chaos Monkey, where they deliberately inject failure scenarios into the systems and look at how the systems behave and be able to then monitor and find faults with the system and how to improve them. So we had these systems that we engineered ourselves called Raccoon. If you actually see the picture on the right, it's actually a picture of a raccoon. The buzzword there is, wreck the apps and fix the gaps. So we have so far actually put all our critical system through a Raccoon, chaos engineering and testing system. So far we have like 10,400 attacks being triggered, and subsequently, we actually developed this idea about depth of chaos, and to be able to see how the quality and the depth of the chaos that we have actually tested on our system. So this has actually resulted in very highly reliable systems and with high observability and traceability. The other area that we actually started doing and really accelerate was the use of data. The use of the data, there are three pillars. First is building the culture. Again, when you look at the data driven operating model and the culture behind it, we wanted all of the entire bank to think about data. Our DDOM. How do we have a data-driven operating model, right from the front line, to the support function? And the second pillar is about enabling data usage, making data accessible, through pre-approved role-based data access, very good metadata definition, and having data stewards to actually enhance the whole entire data access for all the users. And last but not least, in the last pillar is about building a platform fit for purpose. And this includes the way that we ingest our data at scale, the way we reuse our whole entire models that we have developed. So as you said, the whole entire AI industrialization at the back of this data initiative was that we have created a number of what I call AI and ML digital assets. From NLP asset hub to forecasting to clickstream analytics and so forth. These were all in our libraries, which allow all the other users to be able to click and pull and be able to experiment using data. So, these were all the initiatives that we were doing, and in fact, it has really totally transformed the entire bank in the way we deliver services to the customers. Now, in India, we have our DigiBank app that's purely digital on a service on a digital platform, and similarly in Indonesia as well. And that has actually sort of like put into our whole entire service offering. And what was really interesting is, in the next phase, when we are thinking about, what's next for DBS, come 2020. I remember this was often the question that people ask me, after the first two chapters of our whole entire digital transformation, what is chapter 3 all about? And at the back of last year, when I took over, we started rethinking how we should be taking the next leg of our whole entire transformation. And of course, as you would all have known, COVID-19 disrupted our thinking about the future of banking. Beginning of this year, when it all happened, a lot of the thinking that we had, would have actually been thrown out the window, because I think it really forced us to think about banking in a very, very different way. But before I actually go on in terms of what I see to be the future, I think let me look at how COVID-19 has been in the experience for us. I would like to actually put this into three different buckets, I think, or areas. Firstly, the ability for us to respond quickly, ability for us to recover very quickly, and allowing us to then start reimagining, what it will look like and what the technologies that we need to actually put in place for the next leg. So let me say that, the whole entire transformation that we have done previously, we have gone through in chapter 2, really enable us to respond very quickly during the COVID-19. Now, we had the ability to increase our VPN and VDI access for remote working very, very quickly, because we are on the virtualization infrastructure. You can see that our collaboration tools in the use of video conferencing, as well as online tools in O365, in Teams, now have increased about 4 times in the span of 2 months. We have a high adoption rate because we were all using laptops 90% of the time. 90% of our bank were on laptops, so it's very easy for them to be able to actually work from home very quickly, easily. And last but not least, and very importantly, I think when we started building our whole entire digital journey, we have multiple layers of preventive and detective controls, on our infra. And one of the things that we have done, previously was to look at behavior anomaly, of our users on our application system. All this really enable us to respond very quickly to the whole entire COVID-19 crisis. On top of that, remember about SRE that I mentioned earlier on, our whole entire online channels have a spike in the volume. And the ability for us to be able to monitor, to be able to trace, and be able to scale for this increased volume on online channels quite seamlessly. We also use data analytics to determine the office occupancy for social distancing. And very importantly, we actually use data analytics for contact tracing to 3 degrees of separation. This is one of the things that remember when I mentioned having an infrastructure fit for purpose for data ingestion, as well as all the model libraries that we actually put in place. This was actually quite a good demonstration of the speed in which that we can respond. Right on the day when we actually had a case of a DBS employee being infected with COVID-19, we were able to actually set up and be able to use data with the speed of ingestion from O365 data, the door access data, the turnstile access data, from the Wi-Fi data, to 3 degrees of separation of who the person has been in close contact with. And this was all done, in the short span of 2 days, using the libraries that we have and also the platform that we have for our data platform. And last but not least, if you look at the last picture there, the agility in actually putting apps out very, very quickly, we were able to set up apps from an overnight basis to allow our employees to be able to start registering where they are in terms of location that they are in. So all this were as a result of all the work that we have done that I actually explained previously. And that has actually enabled us to respond very, very quickly to this beginning of this whole COVID-19 crisis. On top of that, I think our BCP recovery kicked in really nicely without skipping a beat. And we were able to continue keeping banking joyful, safe, and reliable for our customers and employers. If you actually look at some of these solutions that we developed, being able to develop digital solutions through trade DigiDocs. Now, customers were very reluctant to actually come to the branch to actually hand over the trade docs. And within 2 weeks, we were able to actually roll this thing out to enable customers to deliver their trade docs digitally. We also developed a version of the whole entire credit memo internally, where previously they were actually using paper to actually move around the credit memo. And with this e-memo system, we can actually prepare all our credit memo digitally as well and move from one person to another digitally. On top of that, we actually have these ATM services in the quarantine dormitories. I'm sure that you may have read in the papers that Singapore, most of the cases, the bulk of the cases of infection are in the dormitories of the foreign workers. And when the dorms were quarantined, I think they had to actually withdraw money. And the ability for us to be able to provide ATM services very, very quickly, to these dormitories. Last but not least, I think if you look at the bottom right, we're able to engage a customer continuously, using our whole entire O365 suite of tools. So our BCP recovery really kicked in without skipping a beat. And on top of that, our contactless services, through our mobile strategies, allow our customers to bank anytime, anywhere. We actually deployed a guided conversation through our chatbots. When we actually have some of the relief measures being announced, there were a lot of questions. People were calling in to find out, and we were able to develop our chatbots to handle those calls. To be able to support the community during this quarantine period, a lot of the foreign workers, as I mentioned previously, they do not have a bank account, and we are able to actually open up this bank account end to end without it in an automated way. At the bottom left-hand corner, we are able to develop the solution for payments collection for our merchants, as well as enabling our app for instant fulfillment for our transactions and payments. So all these services were developed as a result of our mobile strategies that allow our customers to bank anywhere, anytime. So as we actually enter, this period, I think, it's about reimagining the next chapter and what we think that we need to focus on. So there are 5 areas which I think is going to be, critical areas to look at. I mean, the first two, as we have been expounding on, is the journey to the cloud, and in particular to the public cloud, for us to be able to enable remote working or working from anywhere. And the second area is AR/MR, and these are areas in which we have been, doing in the last 5 years. So this is not going to change. I think it will be accelerated in the way that we're going to adopt the public cloud, as well as adopt our whole entire AR/ML expertise. The other 3 areas which I think will give us some knowledge and things that in which that is actually coming and becoming more important in the next 5 years. I think firstly is the area in 5G. I think it actually hold great promises. I always say that 5G is a solution looking for a problem. I think 5G is an expensive network. A lot of the telcos were very reluctant to invest. But with this remote working or working from anywhere, I think 5G finally found the problem to be solved. I think that's going to accelerate in the next 5 years. IoT is the other area that I think will accelerate. I think we have already been using IoT in the manufacturing industries, in the retail industries, but less so in the financial industry. But with the COVID-19, I think this is going to be a lot more used and be more pervasive in the use of IoT in the financial service sector, mainly in the area to actually protect the customer as well as protect the employees, from the COVID-19 crisis. And last but not least, ecosystems with blockchain they are going to be really be part and parcel of this whole entire digitalization process. Remember earlier on when I talked about some of the trade docs, they'll still be in paper format. I think that as we look at the world, post-COVID, a lot of all this will change. The depaperization, will happen. And blockchain always will be premised on, widespread adoption. And I think that, again, I always say blockchain is also a technology looking for a problem. And today we actually found a problem to be solved. And last but not least, this whole idea about privacy engineering. I think that, it will get more and more important, depending on the countries that you're going to be in. But clearly, I think people are beginning to feel the impact of actually giving out information, for contact tracing. I think in Singapore, we have this app, as well as in US, Google and Apple, they have started building contact tracing app. But what you realize is that there are very few, or the adoption rate has been very low. About 25% of the entire population download such an application. And mainly because I think there are real concerns about privacy. So I think the area of privacy engineering will be heightened. And the thinking around differential privacy is going to be actually a big part of this whole entire landscape that we'll see in the future. So this is how we actually look at how AI, 5G, IoT, and blockchain is going to impact the whole entire banking. On the left-hand side, you actually see, for the customers, the ability for us to use 5G to, provide video teller machines, being able to digitize customer to bank interaction. On the right-hand side will be where we see the entire engagement and the office connectedness for employees. From our communication and engagement, AR, VR equipment that we could actually utilize. Looking at better way of social distancing, room bookings, and so forth for general admin and utilities using IoT. So all these things I think will actually come into play in the next 12 to 24 months. And I see that this is going to be the landscape that we're going to deal with post-COVID. So let me start and end off by looking at this whole entire what I call creating a 28,000 startup. The idea today, that we actually getting the right talent from the big companies. Actually, if you look at it, this is a great period for us to actually start experimenting with the gig economy. If people can actually work from home, work from anywhere, we could actually hire people from these companies and be able to, log on and be able to work from us from any location that they have. Secondly, I think creating the right mindset that ships can be moved, like traditional people, like bankers, can become technology savvy. I think this has actually shown and demonstrated very well in this whole entire episode. And I think more and more our staff will be able to become digitally savvy at a faster pace. And of course, being able to build the right culture, the ABCDE that you actually seen at the bottom. So overall, I think DBS, having done what we have done in the last 10 years, actually put us in a very good position to, cope with, the aftermath of COVID-19. And I think that, where we are today, for the third chapter, what I have actually explained there, the future of technology in banking is going to actually change quite significantly. So with that, I just want to say thank you very much for having me here and giving me the time to share the story of a DBS transformation journey and what we think will be the next slide. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jimmy. What will banking become in the post-COVID-19 era? Let me say no more and hand directly over to Brett King, an old friend of us and author of the book Bank 4.0, Banking Everywhere, Never at a Bank.
Hi, I'm Brett King and welcome to this special coronavirus edition of Bank 4.0 keynote for Huawei. I'm very grateful for Huawei's continued support during this period. And I'm sure with the Global Summit, FSI Global Summit taking place today, one of the things that we obviously want to talk about is what does the future of fintech, techfin, and financial services look like in a post-coronavirus world? And so that's what I really want to address today with this auspicious audience listening in. Now, when we get into the technology of trying to predict the future of how society will behave with the coronavirus, there's some historical analogies we can use. We can see behavioral shifts that took place in the past as a result of plagues in the past, like the Black Plague or the Spanish flu of 1918 and 1919. But we also have to look at the fact that there's some other underlying changes in society that may be accelerated or slowed as a result of coronavirus. And some of the policies that governments put in place, but also some of the behaviors that consumers adopt during this period. In fact, if we look back historically, and we look back to the 1970s with the creation of one of the world's largest semiconductor companies today, Intel Corporation, we can see Bob Noyce, the CEO and founder of Intel at that time. He was quite clear that he believed that the creation or the invention of the integrated circuit, the chips that we have in everything from our smartphones to our computers to our smart glasses in the short term to our digital cameras and things like this technology was going to change the world. But it was directly going to have an impact on the way we consume, the way we purchase, the way we thought about money and payments. So one of the first things to change with coronavirus has been people's habits when it comes to things like shopping, eating out, which has been heavily restricted, ordering from restaurants. And so we've seen a massive online boom in grocery deliveries, in online ordering for restaurants. And this has obviously been a challenge for many of these frontline workers working in these fields because they've had to keep working during this coronavirus pressure. But there are obviously sectors of the business, such as the US retail sector, which has been pummeled by coronavirus. So we've seen major retailers such as JCPenney. They've come out and they've gone into Chapter 11 or technical bankruptcy as we know it in the United States. And so there's some winners and some losers obviously out of this. One of the obvious winners, of course, is our friends at Amazon, who've seen their first quarter results up 26% already this year on year, from last Q1 in 2019 to Q1 in 2020. And no doubt we'll see in April and the Q2 results, we'll see also an increase there. Now, this is despite the fact that Amazon placed restrictions on customers in terms of orders and were clear about their restricted ability to deliver during coronavirus because they were prioritizing things like PPE or personal protective equipment, masks, and other medical supplies for hospitals and so forth. But around the world, this is a common trend we've seen, a common shift towards this online selling and online purchasing. One really phenomenal example is out of China with Dingdong Maicai, which is a online grocery store. Now, they make this promise that they will deliver the groceries from the time you order, and most of these orders take place on mobile rather than on web browsers. Within 29 minutes, they'll have the groceries delivered to your door in the locations they support. That's pretty incredible. And also, we see some of the financial service organizations getting into this phenomenon as well, giving discounts, $5 discounts on orders over $50 and so forth for consumers, encouraging the use of the online platform. But overall, this has meant a significant rethink of the way payments and financial services are working. In the United States, one of the gross failures of the coronavirus response was the IRS dispatching stimulus checks, physical paper checks, and these were delayed by many weeks in some cases. Some people who applied for these stimulus checks in April have still not received these paper checks to be able to deposit these in their account and get some relief from the economic pressure of coronavirus. But this is really using 19th century technologies in a 21st century world, and this is why we've seen a big problem in the United States around stimulus checks. The United States system has just not been modernized enough. In addition, we've seen in China and in the United States and in the UK and Australia and many places where branches have been closed on a temporary basis as a result of the risks of transmission and the social distancing requirements that governments have put in place. Now, the longer that these temporary closures go on, the more likely that they're likely to become permanent in some parts of the United States in particular. We know today that from a perspective of profitability, that about 30% or 1/3 of bank branches in the United States today are basically unprofitable, and they're supported by the rest of the network. Well, the real question here is, as people become more and more dependent on digital tools and the use of digital banking, will they be less reliant on banks and bank branches in particular? And the answer to that is probably that's incredibly likely. And so this behavior is likely to stick. And as a result of that, the coronavirus crisis is likely to result in branch closures at a much faster rate than we saw pre-coronavirus. Now, since 2008 in the United States, we've seen a decline of bank branches by about 1.5–2% per year. In the UK, it's a faster decline there. The other factor in the US is we've seen branch sizes shrink fairly rapidly, in some cases by up to 15–20% in terms of square footage. And that's figures from the likes of Bank of America and Wells Fargo and JP Morgan Chase. So when you hear JP Morgan Chase announcing they're going to open more branches, it's a little bit of a numbers game for the stock market. They're actually closing branches and reopening new branches with smaller square footage. And so we see this trend accelerating as a result of coronavirus. But as we enter the world of Bank 4.0 and the next 10, 15 or 20 years, what are some of the factors that might likely impact the way financial services evolves from this point forward with coronavirus? Well, if you've read Bank 4.0, you know I talk a lot about first principles design. And as I'm recording this, the US is getting prepared to launch their Dragon crew capsule into space to the International Space Station. But SpaceX has revolutionized space travel by building their spacecraft up and designing their spacecraft using engineering principle we call first principles design. As a result, SpaceX is the most affordable rocket launch platform in the world today and has put increasing pressure on the likes of the Russian system and commercial operators like Boeing, ULA and Space Alliance here in the United States. Because they didn't take the existing models and iterated on it, they went for a revolutionary new approach to space transportation, including landing their rockets for reusability. And some of these rocket cores, the Falcon 9 cores, have been used 4 or 5 times through reuse application. Another great example of first principles engineering that I talk about in Bank 4.0 is the creation of the smartphone, or the first generation iPhone that we saw back in 2007. There's a clear example of first principles design. Didn't take the Motorola flip phone or the Nokia banana phone and try and improve on that. Steve Jobs and Johnny Ive started from scratch. And today, that basic smartphone design has survived throughout the period, and we've seen that become a baseline. But the one thing Apple didn't get right with payments and didn't get right with the iPhone was they allowed the plastic card companies, the card schemes, to dictate the way Apple Pay could work. They were trying to look for a way to keep the existing infrastructure, the point-of-sale infrastructure, particularly in the United States, intact, and hence contributing towards interchange fees and things like that. And so when you look at the payments capabilities in, say, the Apple iPhone today, they're an iteration on the old technology of the plastic card. Whereas in China, we see a dramatically different story. We see in China now you can walk into a store and pay using facial recognition. You have the ability to conduct these transactions regardless of whether you have a traditional bank account. Merchants, as long as they have a smartphone, they can accept payments as well. So this is a radically different model, a first principles design approach to payments. And this is why I strongly believe that by 2030, most of Asia and much of Africa will be using Chinese mobile wallets, because they have a distinct advantage for the future of payments based on this design approach over the plastic card approach that we see from the US and European-centric systems. Now, all of that aside, while all of this has been going on and we've seen a ramp up of mobile payments, the coronavirus crisis has accelerated mobile payment adoption across the board, whether that is online payments, whether that is mobile person-to-person payment schemes. Everywhere in the world we're seeing an uptick in mobile payments as a result of coronavirus. So again, this will teach people to use these systems safely. They'll see it's safe. They'll develop confidence in this. They're not as likely to go back to using physical cash and those physical interactions in the past. But some history lessons now. When we look at the lessons learned from the plagues historically, we look at the Black Plague during the Middle Ages, mostly in Middle Ages Europe. We have a lot of institutional or societal memory as a result of this. As a child, children are often taught a nursery rhyme. Ring a rosy, a pocket full of posies, a tissue, we all fall down. Now, when you understand those words, this nursery rhyme probably was instituted in the Victorian era, but it was as a result of those long-held memories around the Black Plague. And the ring of roses was both the sores or the welts that people that suffered from the bubonic plague had, the tissue, the sneezing, then they all fall down. This was a story of someone affected by the Black Plague. And so we have other notable points from during the Black Plague. Isaac Newton wrote much of his theories on physics during this time, so it contributed to society in other ways as well. In more recent times, in 1918 and 1919, 100 years ago, as soldiers returned back to their homes after the end of the First World War, they brought with them an influenza virus. We called it the Spanish flu at the time because returning servicemen were coming from the Spanish front and were first affected, but it wasn't really a Spanish flu. It was a global influenza, and it affected more people in the United States than it did, obviously, in Spain. But one important lesson came out of that. Prior to the Spanish flu, or the 1918 influenza epidemic, in Europe and in the United States, there were really no hospitals for public services. These were essentially hospitals were hospice care for people in the last stages of their life. If you wanted care in the community, you didn't get in an ambulance and go to a hospital. You had a local physician in the town or the community that would assist you. And so this radically changed as a result of the 1918 influenza pandemic. For the first time, national health was part of the psyche. So the United States, for the first time, set aside budget to create hospitals, public hospitals, for access for their citizens. And this was as a result of the Spanish flu. During coronavirus, we've seen hobbyists and others using 3D printing technology to be able to create face shields for frontline health workers. And we've seen incredible innovation in testing and devices around this. So you might recall Theranos in the past and other companies trying to get into microfluidic testing capabilities. Well, we've seen an exponential increase in this technology as a result of coronavirus. In the first tests that were done for coronavirus, they would take up to 48 hours to generate a result. But today we see these machines capable of generating a result in just a couple of minutes. And so that innovation has occurred rapidly. And no doubt the lessons we learn on testing and transmission of the virus and treatment of the virus is going to impact healthcare for the next couple of hundred years also. When we look at payments, we can see M-Pesa also was born out of crisis. In 2007, during the Kenyan elections, there was a lot of political violence as part of that. People were very concerned about carrying cash around. And so that was part of the driver for the creation of what could be the most successful mobile payments technology in the world today in percentage terms for adoption. In Kenya, 98% of the adult population has access to a basic bank account now through the M-Pesa rails. 40% of Kenya's GDP runs through the system. Prior to M-Pesa, just 1/4 of the Kenyan adult population had a bank account. So, where does this leave us? Well, we're definitely seeing an accelerated shift towards digital adoption when it comes to financial services and banking. It's not likely that we go back to normal when it comes to banking, particularly in respect to things like signing pieces of paper and using physical cash or going to physical places for our banking. This is definitely going to be in decline as a result of the pattern we've seen with coronavirus. Now, there's a great sci-fi writer, William Gibson, who talked about this trend that we've seen. So we've got Bob Noyce in 1972 talking about this, William Gibson predicting this in the future, where William Gibson basically says, cash will still be around in the future. It won't be illegal to use it, just nobody will use it because of the digital capabilities available. And we can see in countries like China where we've had to enact processes cleaning cash and disinfecting cash as a result of concerns over transmission. But it hasn't stopped digital adoption. We see when it comes to schooling, when it comes to workplace adoption, when it comes to transactional behavior, when it comes to retail e-commerce or m-commerce activity in places like China, all of these numbers are going through the roof right now while the rest of the economy is stagnating or declining. So this is a real opportunity for digital e-commerce and digital banking and financial services to shine. One interesting stat, instant noodle orders were up 500% during coronavirus, the height of the coronavirus in China. But again, this was a trend that had already started. In 2019, the combined mobile payments ecosystem in China did $41 trillion of transaction value through primarily the Tencent WeChat Pay and Financial Alipay mobile networks. For the rest of the global card schemes that we see, primarily MasterCard and Visa, just $22.5 trillion in transactions. So almost half what China did just last year. No doubt we'll see an acceleration of China's leadership on the mobile payments front as a result of this. Where will that lead? At this point, unless the plastic card schemes really significantly change the way they think about tokenization, the way they think about identity, and the way they handle data and the openness of their platforms, and the way interchange works, it's very likely that China's mobile payments schemes will continue to dominate, not just in China, but around the world. So we can see that digital financial services, open banking, contextual finance, and mobile-first payments and mobile-first banking have all had a boon during this period. And that gives us some positive momentum going into what's next. But how will banking need to adapt to stay relevant in the space of these behavioral shifts we've seen with coronavirus? Well, the first thing is we're going to see a shift away from banks encouraging customers to spend money all the time with cashback, rewards, and these types of airline miles that will be potentially less relevant in the post-coronavirus world, to a real focus on helping people save money, to help them manage their financial resources longer, particularly as the economic recovery from coronavirus will probably take longer than the recovery from the disease itself. This requires us to have very strong identity infrastructure. Again, China's shown strong leadership there with facial recognition and so forth. Other countries have debated the issues around facial recognition, such as civil rights and things like that. But ultimately, a digital identity infrastructure is required for people to be able to safely transact and safely bank in these environments. The old signature on a piece of paper and the date of birth or the social security number, those sort of underlying data points were used. It's just not sufficient enough for the digital world. By 2025, more people will have got a digital bank account on their phone, on their smartphone, than those that have ever walked into a bank branch. So you put all of this together, we're seeing an acceleration of that trend that we've already seen. And that means that by the middle of this decade, and certainly by the end of this decade, that the leading banks in the world will all be digital-first, technology-first companies. They won't be banks that are necessarily adopted to technology, because that requires a big cultural shift. The number one bank in the world will be a technology company. That's my bet. So that trend was already here, but coronavirus has made that much more certain and accelerated that outcome. And that is Bank 4.0 in the post-coronavirus world. Thank you for listening today. Stay safe.
Thank you, Brett. The world has been apprehended by the spread of COVID-19. If this, then, is the new normal, how should we adapt our mobile strategies for what's ahead? This is a question that Chen Kunde, the former CIO of China Merchants Bank and now Huawei Enterprises Chief Digital Transformation Officer for the FSI sector, is about to answer.
Hi everyone, it's my pleasure to make this presentation. I think this time we are staying post-pandemic, right? So as we come back to see the COVID-19 start from outbreak and contain, so and then once we control this the pandemic, then we start getting into the reopen stage. So we will stay with the different kind of lifestyle. For example, work from home, testing and tracing, right? And social distance become very important to preventing the virus can spread, right? So another one is face masking and temperature checking whenever you get into the closed spaces, for example in the branch, right? So reopen is going to be by stage approach, because we still learn how to preventing the virus spread, right? So then we were getting into the new normal, because we did wait either vaccine or herd immunity led us to totally separate from the virus anyway. But all we can say is become a new normal. So within this new normal, we have to change our business operation and business style to adapt to this new normal. And so as a bank, especially in the banking industry, it will be change a lot for during pandemic. The first one, we can see that the branch it's essential services to the whole industry. So we have to partially open at least on to preventing the virus. So we will have rotation of our employee and do the shifting. And we also have some service capacity restriction, within the branch, right? So another one, we can see that the asset quality is weakened. So you can see some of the country, they even, I think the government were asking the bank to relieve the credit to help the, people, they can, pass this pandemic crisis, right? So I think to the bank, net income decrease, business uncertainty is going to be a new normal as a bank, right? So most of the industry, transform to digital very, very quickly. Online and digital is going to become a new normal. So as a bank, I think it's a great opportunity to move to digitalization. I think, no matter you want or not, I think this is the things we have to do. This time, I think I probably like to get in more detail, to describe, to share the experience, what we are doing, customer journey redesign, especially for the branch services of customer journey, right? So in here, you can see there is a demonstration.
If I want to go to a branch, I can use the branch reservation function in the bank's app. Here's the branch reservation page. At the center is the reservation card, which displays the nearest branch by default. Here it shows the branch name, how far it is, and the detailed address. Click the address link and then I know how to get there. To learn more about the branch, I click the link to visit the branch's homepage. Here I can find detailed information such as opening hours, telephone number, and detailed address. Staff in this branch can launch mini programs and campaigns on their homepage, such as follower promotions. Yeah, it's amazing. I can get 500 virtual coins by following this branch. That's great. Now let's go back to reservation. After I click the reservation button, the app verifies my identity through fingerprint, which is quite convenient. Here I check the branch's information, choose which type of service I need, such as general service, and fill in the expected arriving time. I can pick any time within opening hours of today or tomorrow, or even right now. I choose 9 a.m. today, confirm the information, and submit my application. My reservation succeeds. Click the Arrived button in the app or scan QR code from branch staff's tablet so that they will provide services as I need. This process is so easy and I believe everyone can master it. This app also allows me to pre-fill forms for account opening, card activation, transfer, personal information update, and contact information update services. This shortens my stay in the branch. I want to change my personal information. This page shows current information, but some is anonymized. I will change my address and my company and click Submit. Okay, it reminds me what I should take when I visit the branch. Got it. Now I'm ready to go to the branch. There are some interesting functions, like ride-hailing. Select the destination, check the route, and choose which company I want to call. Okay, let's go.
Okay, how about this? You see, it's going to be very exciting, right? So, you see, from this chart, you will see there is a customer. They're using mobile. They make a reservation, right? So, if you think about this is, engagement process. What is the engagement? That means once the customer pull out their mobile phone and activate the bank's app, right? They start to browsing what sort of services they need, they want, they expect, right? So if they find that they have to go to the branches, so they can, browsing this, they can, make the reservation, right? Then before go to the branch, they can pre-fill the fulfill the forms, right? Prepare all the data. So on the other side, you will see within the branch people, they can see that, you know, the customer make a reservation, right? So they will have a reservation list, you know, if today's one, or, you know, if the customer make a reservation from yesterday, then, you know, you probably have more time to prepare all the resources, right? So you know, now you can schedule, you know, when, what time, and the customer will come to your branch, do what kind of things, right? So this is totally different from with before. As a bank, we usually is very, very passive, because the customer come to the branch, then we start to engage to the customer, start to realize what kind of financial services that the customer expect, right? So, you know, when we prepare the resources to deal with the operation, I think it's very, very positive. We always rely on the random arrival of the customer. We need to rely on the past, you know, past business behavior, or, you know, that kind of models using statistics, but it always have some mistake a lot. So it's very difficult to planning ahead. So this time, if the customer, you know, make reservation ahead, then in the branch, you know, the branch people, I think they can well prepare. You know, so when the customer coming in the branch, it's very simple and easy, because they already prepare all the data, right? So you probably do not need your banker to, you know, bank's employee to re-entry all the information and data. So I think the customer coming in, that will minimize the services time within the branch. And once the, you know, customer complete all these services, right? So you have chance to deal with the, you know, cross-selling, upselling, or do any retentions job, right? So when the customer complete the services, they leave branch, you still have the engagement session with the customer. You can follow the customer, how is the services, right? Is there anything you can improve? And also you can follow your upselling or your, you know, cross-selling, such sort of things. So it's become very typical, just look like a kind of social platform. So you utilize the social platform within your, you know, app, and your, you know, customer, your bankers, employees, you know, apps, right? These two apps actually can do the engagement job, right? So within this chart, well, what I'm going to show is, this is a very typical, you know, change your, you know, branch services, you know, process journey, right? So within this, if you apply this model, you will see that it's going to be a kind of process that you need to articulate every step, right? Which is different from conventional banking, you know, design the transaction process, because transaction actually is a booking process, right? But this time it's a kind of engagement process. It's very interactive, right? So there are probably have many exceptions, right? So you have to taking care about this. So that means it's going to be agile. You need to using great announce, right? You can try in certain branch, certain portion of the customer. Once you you know, complete all this process and very good, then you start to, you know, apply to other branches. Get more customer can using this kind of services, right? So when you complete one branch, one customer, let's look you know, from the one branch's point of view, you will see that, you know, if a branch can, you know, most of the customer they're using reservation ahead come to the branch to do services, then you will see that as a branch manager, right? So you can plan ahead. You know, it's, you know, it depends on how many customers, you know, they reserve ahead. If they reach to 80%, 90%, even 100%, then you will see that your branch operation is going to be very, very efficient, because every customer is reservation ahead, right? So you can well prepare. You can schedule your resources, and you can control your capacity, especially in the pandemic, right? Social distance restriction. So I think this is it looks very simple, and from the PowerPoint it looks very simple and easy to develop. But from technology's perception, I think well, it's need more time to tuning it, right? So from one branch's point of view, if you complete most of those services, you will see that the branch optimization based on one branch is going to be continuously improved, right? So whenever you have any new services, you can just, add it in this services journey, right? So from this chart, you will see that if all the banks branch, because branch basically it's like networking, right? It is based on the geographic, based on the bank the strategy. They set up the branches, right? So if you're a customer, most of your customers make a reservation ahead to access the branch services. You can start thinking, because they make during the reservation, make the reservation, you can guide you can guide the customer, right? You even can let your customer moving to which branches have more capacity to serve, right? And you also can put some very difficult services within certain branch. You let the customer go to that branch, right? So from this chart, you can see that it can very good continuously optimize the all branches, right? Operation. So I think this is going to be a different thinking and different sort of how digitalize your branch services, right? So next page, when we combine all the channel together, right, through the reservation, you will see guiding your customer to what ATM they still have money, still have enough cash to be cash withdraw, right? Where is the best branches, best outlet they have to go to that branch, right? If this can complete on the internet or in the telephone number or in the telephone banking, you also can migrate your customer to that kind of services. Of course, most of the bank, when they provided mobile app, usually they will also have customer services on the app, right? So whenever you have any questions, any problems from the customer, they can just click the I need help, right? Then they will get into the customer services dialogue, right? So they probably have a chatbot of people to serve the customers, right? So in this chart, what I'm going to say is this is omni-channel operation optimizations, right? So this is more advanced to optimize whole bank's operation based on the customers services requirement, right? So you can see that this is pretty much is more digitalize your whole channel operation, right? Okay, so I think when you digitalize your branch services channel, right? So how can you leverage this kind of services into new customer acquisition, right? So I just gave, there is an example. For example, you put an advertisement in certain media or social platform or any platform, do the advertisement, right? And of course you can put some campaign, beneficiary, gift, give away, that sort of things, right? So when the customer say, hey, I'm interested on this, right? So when the customer select on this, then you will provide the HTML5 screen and beautiful screen, let the customer fill the form, and also can make reservation, right? So they can see which branch is available, right? So the customer can pick one and make the reservation, and I think the people in the branch, they can well prepare this. They can follow this customer, right? And when the customer arrive to the branch, I think they will have surprise services, right? So you will, do the sale. I think, this is totally, digital process, right? So you can see once you complete your internal, services from transaction to journey, those kind of process, and then you can expand to get new customers. So here is an example, right? I think so. This chart I try to summarize the whole process. So you can see it's very interesting. This is quite different from conventional transaction process design, right? Because the requirement is not so clear. But anyway, we know that this is a journey. This is the engagement. Probably we will, learn by doing, right? We will try, fail, and fix it, right? So start from a single customer journey to a single branch, right? And then we optimize a single branch, right? So, and next phase, we, upgrade to multiple branch or whole area branches capacity optimization, right? Of course, in the same time, we'll start to, get more and more improve the consumer experience, right? So the last one is you can put all the channels together. Then you can find that if the customer prefer your mobile app, you will see that they will do a lot of things, lots of financial services through the mobile app. Okay, so it's a kind of a way of, when we call this is a digitalization, I think it's a kind of example, how we, bank as a services, and then we move our services to digital world, right? So I think this chart, I just try to very simple to, share some of my experience when I do those kind of branch journey system and start from day one, right? Because it's an engagement process. It's quite different from conventional transaction process, right? So it's going to be, you always have to learn from the customer, learn from your branch people, and how they, very detailed to engage the customer, right? So this kind of application basically is engagement basis. It's need time, to articulate it, to tuning, to try to learn, and, to complete all the services, right? So you don't want, when your technology people or business people develop this kind of system, will impact to your conventional, traditional, legacy, booking transaction process, right? So usually I will create separate cloud, private cloud, of course, right? And of course, you probably, most of the banks still have legacy system, right? So you will develop this in your mobile cloud platform, rather than you direct using your legacy system to develop those kind of engagement services. So this is a kind of experience I think we can share to all of the audience, right? So here I think we as a Huawei, I think we try to conclude our video proposition to our customer, right? We vision in the future is intelligence finance. This was supported by fully connected world. What connected? I think 5G is the most difficult one, because 5G is mobile network, right? So it's cover the biggest geographic area, and it's also mobile, right? So that's the most difficult one. So if 5G can be more popular, and the coverage is more, area, more geographic, you will see that all the connection, all the, number of connection, the speed, the low latency, it's going to be totally changing the world. So this will accelerate, the chain reaction of whole economic, right? Business operations, right? So as a bank, I think this is very extremely important, fully connected. I think, Huawei as a, company, I think we, pretty good in this area. And next one is on the top, above the connection, I think to build the digitalization infrastructure for, right? So currently it's hybrid cloud, public cloud, hybrid cloud, and next phase will be getting into the edge cloud, especially when you start using those kind of branch journey services, then you will find that you need very, very good edge cloud services. For example, CDN, to let your customer very simple and easy to connect, to engage to the branch people, right? No matter where he is, when he, do the operation, right? So next one is, I think you will find that data is going to be everywhere, right? In the edge part, in the CDN part, right? So AI was staying everywhere. For example, in the branch, you can using a smart camera, right? And you're using, of course, every employee can have their devices, right? Smart camera can do the temperature checking for pandemic. And then they also can perform what? For security, for internal control, right? For customer recognitions, right? And they will connect together, right? So the customer arrives at the branch, the camera can recognize the customer, right? And let the banker knows this, right? Of course, you also can develop a, feature in the app, say, hey, I'm arrived, right, on the app. So, the banker will knows this. So what I'm going to say is connect artificial intelligence, data, and that's the digitalizations, have to leverage those kind of robust infrastructure, right? I think for digitalization, we intend to make most of the bank or any institution, they are going to be very agile, especially on the business agility. How can you make your business agility? What we propose is super app architect. Like the bank can empower your internal, your frontline, your branch. You can, develop very simple application, develop their own campaign, right? And on the other hand, I think a pandemic bring in every industry get into detailed work, right? So the bank have to collect more information. You have to keep your own private domain flow, right? So you need to have a digital payment, right? And of course, digital engagement, right? And during the technology process develops, and we hope that we can bring and co-work with the bank or help the bank develop new business model in the future to adapt to the pandemic and moving to digitalization. I think this is the presentation what I showed. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, KT. Up next, we have a special program that today Huawei and IDC will jointly pre-release its latest white paper for the banking sector, the trends, patterns, and capabilities of journey to recovery. Let me welcome Michael Arellante, an Associate Vice President at IDC and its Head of Advisory and Research, to walk us through it. Welcome, Michael.
If there is one message that I will leave you today, it is this, that there will be recovery, but we have to use different tools and approaches to recovery and at different times. I speak to you today with this hopeful message. I am also very excited to talk about the launch of a major research initiative that we are running at IDC Financial Insights globally, looking at the response of banks to current conditions. We acknowledge, of course, that we are in less than ideal conditions, born out of the coronavirus. Our research, however, reveals that banks are seeing a profusion of new capabilities that allow them to respond to what we can call a crisis and get these banks quicker than expected on the path of business recovery. So, quote unquote, new capabilities is perhaps the clear theme that we will be making a reference to in this presentation. These capabilities are really in the context of the unique features of this 2020 downturn, but they are also brought about by the new technology and digital capabilities of our times. Although conditions remain quite dire, we see some good signals of recovery. And to some extent, we can say that we can get through this crisis because of the many new skills and tools and technologies that are in our disposal now, even though these capabilities were not possible as recent as, say, 6 months ago. We thank Huawei for supporting us in this research. Together, IDC and Huawei bring to market the new frameworks for recovery, especially in the areas of resiliency, that promises to reshape banking from pre-COVID-19 to a different future of banking in the years to come. But let's be honest and look at the context of this crisis and the history of global development and the 60 years of booms and busts. We know that this 2020 is a real systemic shock, perhaps one of the deepest and most extensive of our time. But like all crises in the past, this crisis is different. There are unique features of this crisis that are already signaling the possibility of recovery. And in some areas, we can talk about accelerated recovery. Especially for banks, there is great hope. Our banks and other financial services institutions worldwide are relatively well capitalized compared to previous systemic shocks. This means that global financial services markets will not seize up and that there will be ample liquidity to rely on. Secondly, with the moratoriums that are in place and with greater liquidity buffers of banks, some credit delinquency issues in banks will take time to fully manifest, giving precious time for banks to plan a course of action or a course correction if such course correction would be necessary. Third, and this you can see in the later part of my presentation today, digital technologies have minimized business disruption, whether it is in digital branch operations, in the launch of new features and functionalities of mobile apps for consumers, and even digital tools that staff who work from home can use and use effectively. Banks are able to use continued services despite the disruptions of our times. And lastly, we should not underestimate this. Government policies can change the shape and the pattern of recovery that we are seeing. They are forcing and encouraging lending to be able to have banks support the economic growth that we are expecting after this crisis. And hopefully, the banks will participate willingly in economic development building after this crisis. The challenge, of course, is to be able to approve lending and all these loans that we'll be making fast and efficiently. And so with all of these capabilities, whether it is in liquidity, the ability to do stress testing, the alignment to government policy, and then digital capabilities for continued services, we can say that there are many reasons why we can talk about recovery. We segue to another perspective now, and this is a representation of how we as an industry of three main subsectors of banking, insurance, and capital markets, securities and investment services, we are seeing moderately impacted by the current crisis based on IDC and IDC Insights assessments of about 19 key industries worldwide. We see that some industries like discrete manufacturing, transportation, and personal and consumer services might be impacted more than others. We are seeing moderate impact, obviously, for now, but if we use the capabilities that I will be talking about later on, we might be able to see recovery sooner than expected and sooner than others. This brings us to this conversation about the shape of recovery, that while recovery is forthcoming, most likely our recovery story will be shaped by very important factors. First, by the impact of the crisis itself, and secondly, by the tools, the skills, and capabilities that we deploy at the right time. There is a curve to this recovery that we are expecting, obviously. And this brings us to this conversation about how exactly are we going to go from recession to the climb towards the next normal. Across these different stages, we know that there has to be some necessary business focus areas as we go through different economic conditions. For example, as we face the escalation of the crisis and see the impact of the crisis to our institutions, we need to ensure business continuity, to ensure that we are able to offer 24/7 availability of products and services during the economic slowdown as the effects of the crisis gets more and more evident, especially through inter-industry linkages. Our focus might be on cost optimization. During the economic recession, business resiliency might be our focus, but also a sustained focus on what business we can build after such a recession. For the phase of return to growth, targeted investments, especially those that allow us to gain new market share in the new era of financial services, will be important. And then finally, in the next normal, where if we succeed in the use of digital technologies, we might be one among the class of institutions that we at IDC call the future enterprise. These digital technologies become the de facto competitive advantage in this so-called next normal that we are anticipating. To return to the next normal is our objective. We map out these strategies of recovery to this global white paper that we are coming up with Huawei to show how our banks are creating best responses and how they are made appropriate by the stage that they are in. That response is based not on the technologies themselves, but on the capabilities that we as an industry needs at a certain time in the curve of recovery. Again, this is all about capabilities, not technology. And these capabilities are summed up by the word resiliency. For sure, it has been a very interesting process to see the impact and response of banks as we developed content for this white paper. We know that the COVID-19 escalation and crisis has been all-encompassing, meaning it has touched all sectors of the economy, but also the financial services industry, from retail, corporate banking to wealth management. It has also touched most parts of the world, in fact, most parts of the world and all parts of the world. And despite many uncertainties, banks in the Asian region, first on the new normal of business activity, will provide a template for the rest of the world in how banks should deal with these new trends. There are many solutions that are coming out of the Asia-Pacific region, especially in China, that are quite impressive. Another reason why we think this is an all-encompassing event is that it has affected everything from operations to risk management to product development. In fact, this has been affected very well, and also IT operations. And this is the reason why we think that the response of banks have been all-encompassing as well. We have discovered about 40 solutions that seem to be quite indicative of the best response of banks to the current coronavirus situation. We definitely have seen quite a number of good solutions coming out of the Asia-Pacific region. We won't have time to talk about them today, but I'll talk about some of the more interesting ones, especially on the right-hand side, Security and Operations Center, the SOCs, that can be described as next-generation SOC, including threat intelligence, that are a good response for banks, especially with the increase of online and mobile activities. On the right-hand side also, and slightly below security, we see mobile app efficiency being very important. And banks are emphasizing apps that really work. And they focus on availability and security and reliability of services. We also look at behavioral and analytics at the bottom, with the rise of new classes of data that allow the banks to respond to the context of the customer. Banks are seeing the emergence of a new class of data that we call user-created and volunteer data, data that are created by the customers themselves now that their activities have shifted online and facilitated by open banking sharing standards. On the lower left-hand side, we see how the digital customer journey has been a very important factor in creating branch transformation successes, where banks move from physical contact to zero-touch mode. And zero-touch or contactless banking has started to gain traction in the world. And then on the extreme left-hand side, you have prefabricated modular data centers. And these are quickly deployed, scalable, and flexible data centers for rapidly expanding businesses. And they are built on robust hybrid cloud architectures that meet disparate business requirements with higher business efficiency and lower cost, which is the promise of a truly hybrid IT environment anyway. Now, these capabilities can be categorized into 10 key imperatives that define the solutions of our time, but they might be classified differently by different organizations. But we go first from the extreme focus on risk. There is an extreme focus on risk these days. In IT spending, for example, there is a readjustment of risk spending to operational risk. And we remind each other that operational risk under the broader framework of enterprise risk management looks at the technology risks we face with people and process and technology. There is also data-led engagement that emphasizes the need for accurate and reliable and trustworthy data that allow us to use data from various internal and external sources. We also recognize the changing nature of face-to-face, that our interactions have to move to digital channels, but must not lose the context and meaningfulness that can be assured in face-to-face interactions. We also acknowledge our work in ensuring operational resiliency towards the left. We are changing business processes and improving them, not only for business continuity, but also for efficiency and standardization and reuse. On the upper left-hand side, we have a regulatory stability, especially around that of being able to demonstrate that we can withstand the liquidity and credit issues that is very necessary, especially as central banks and regulators are asking banks to be able to report new policy-oriented data. And they are asking our banks to help them ascertain the ability to withstand stresses of this crisis. And on top of the circle, we see the prominence of lending. The role of loans in economic development will become very important. So we have the 10 categories and 40 of these capabilities that we have been able to discover in the course of our research. But there are too many of them to pay attention to. So the question that we have is, how do we prioritize? So this is how we prioritize. We have to look at the 5 stages of recovery and prioritize from there. For example, in the early parts, and this is exactly what we saw exactly as the crisis escalated, we have to work on themes of stability, particularly in regulatory compliance and regulatory reporting. We also have to shift our modes of interactions fast and without interruption to digital channels. As we go through the economic slowdown, we have to support the economy and build robust capabilities in lending, including credit collections and recovery, which is expected because we need to look at the ability of our institution to deal with the credit crisis that we might be facing soon. And there might be new dynamics emerging soon, especially very important to note here would be the ways of innovation that we have to change. And so through the course of research, we have discovered that some capabilities are very important at several points of our journey to recovery. For example, in the earlier parts, you need impact assessment, a real impact assessment of the crisis. Here, the banks need the ability to understand real capitalization and liquidity and credit positions through various possible scenarios, especially as we do more stress testing. Next, banks have to update contingency plans, especially for customer engagements, and they need to move to new modes of working and new modes of customer engagement through digital channels. Next, operational efficiency in lending will become very important. And also, we need to look at differentiation from new players, especially as in the post-COVID-19 business, we might need the ability to compete but also collaborate with new players. And these new players could be challenger banks, virtual banks, or the fintechs. Among the 10 categories of technologies and digital capabilities, 3 seem to be very useful across not just some, but all the stages of recovery. There are 3 that I will be talking about today, and they are going to be very important across all stages. First, extreme focus on risk, and secondly, infrastructure resiliency, and third, operational resiliency. And we talk about this twin resiliency priorities, infrastructure resiliency and business resiliency. Of the first, we talk about the ability of our organizations to create a recovery-ready risk framework for the entire organization. And here we have been talking about crisis analytics, that is essentially the best response analytics to the unique features of the current systemic shock and the surrounding liquidity and credit implications for banks. Crisis analytics will have four key components, including predictive analytics, the use of new data. Third, the consumption of analytics in an integrated way to make sure that we are able to have an enterprise-wide consumption of on-time, trustworthy, and comprehensive risk data and risk analytics. But this also brings us to the concept of model risk management that allows us to understand that some models really need to be adapted to our current times. And we need to be able to look at the triage of models to find out which models need to be updated first in keeping with our times. And then the twin resiliency objectives, infrastructure resilience and business resilience. And banks need infrastructure resilience very, very well in these times. They need to be able to use cloud services and use this as a recourse for availability and security, especially as customers move more and more of their transactions to digital channels. The bank's portfolio of mobile and digital application capabilities are new. So mobility solutions, next generation payments, big data analytics, they are primed for cloud, aside from the workforce productivity solutions that are increasingly the de facto standard and way of operations these days. But we also need operational and business contingency plans. This is based on decision-making on HR and employee management, on capacity management, and expertise management. Banks need to have effective internal controls across their operations should split team arrangements be implemented. We also need organizational agility to be able to innovate very well. And I think innovation is still very important these days, especially as we move to a new era of business post-COVID-19. This would include IoT and sensors and robotics and move them to integrate with digital capabilities. So there you have it. We expect recovery that is forthcoming, but this recovery path will be made easy by the appropriate use of technology at the right time. As we release the results of this white paper with Huawei, we offer three essential guidance. First, that we need to focus on risk assessment and mitigation of downtime for customer experience. Through all these, we need an agile risk framework that is premised on the ability to understand the true risks in our organization. We also need to have the foundations of growth that we are expecting in the years to come. We need an infrastructure that is inclusive of that is built on business resiliency and operational resiliency. Operational resiliency allows us to run the business no matter the shape, the extent, the pattern, and path of recovery that we will go through. With the white paper available in the next few weeks in Asia and in the rest of the world, we will help identify which banks will get there first. Thank you very much for your time, and I talk to you soon.
Thank you, Michael. As the second biggest mobile phone maker in 2019, with market share of over 70%, Huawei is uniquely positioned to partner with banks in the mobile-first world. Siri Borsam of Huawei's Consumer Business Group can explain why.
Thank you all for taking time to join me today. At Huawei, we think of the financial service industry as providers of some of the most important services in consumers' daily lives. And that is why we have established a global team that have the expertise and the knowledge to support you in your goal to establish great mobile user experiences for your customers. My name is Siri Borsam. I'm the VP Finance Vertical, Global Partnership and Eco Development at Huawei Consumer Business Group. Due to my name, I just want to make it clear that I'm not the iPhone app. But to complicate it a little bit, I have 12 years history from working at Google. And now I have the great pleasure to be leading our effort, focusing on supporting you, the finance service industry, in growing and developing the best ecosystem solutions for the future. And I am so excited and I am so grateful to get the opportunity to be part of this very exciting journey. And most of all, I can't wait to get started working with you. This is a journey where we together will provide our users with the best possible experience they could ever dream of. And I would like to take this opportunity to give you more insights into what we're doing, why this is a great opportunity for you, and how we can support you. Let me start by introducing you to Huawei's long-term strategy and to share some numbers with you. So our vision is to bring digital to every person, every home, and every organization, everywhere, for a fully connected, intelligent world. And we will work on combining Huawei software with our hardware to enable consumers to effortlessly and seamlessly move between their smartphones and the world of IoT, a world which our technology will anticipate our needs and deliver us the best possible experience that we can dream of. And to get there, we have developed what we call the 1+8+N strategy. So let me give you the rationale behind it. So far, the smartphone is the smart device that has had the biggest impact on our daily lives, at least since I was born. And on the same time, we are noticing that other smart devices are getting connected to the smartphone more and more for every day. Therefore, Huawei has launched and will continue to build a unified ecosystem for all different life scenarios. So, to keep it simple and easy to understand, one is the phone, the smartphone in the middle. So we believe that the Huawei smartphone will be the device that helps us live an easier life in a smarter way. Around the one, you have the 8. The 8 other supporting Huawei devices, such as the wearables, the smart screens, the telematics, the audio, the PC, the tablets, the watches, and the VR and the AR glasses. As an example of that, in the car, the mobile phone app will be part of the interface in the car itself. It will make it safer and easier to drive. And finally, the N, the next generation device ecosystem, the IoT devices. The devices that you will find in your smart homes, the mobile office, the smart traveling, the fitness, the health, and the media devices. And we would like to see developers join this ecosystem and innovate their apps to meet this huge demand of connectivity that the Internet of Things presents not only today, but in the future. And we truly believe in this strategy and the way of thinking. And looking at the numbers, it looks like our users believe in us and love our products. Because in 2019, we shipped 240 million devices to people around the world. And that is a growth of 16.8%. And as you can see from the numbers behind me on the slide, we also have a huge user base across most different countries globally. As a result of this, Huawei has grown. And in 2019, we had the second largest market share globally. So hard work, and with our customers' loyalty, we also managed to keep this position in the first quarter of this year as well. And that tells us that we have established ourselves as a well-known brand in many, many households globally. Our users love our devices. but they also love your services. So we know that our users are demanding, that they expect solutions that are as good as the best experience they have ever had. And that is why we have developed Huawei Mobile Services, an open platform where we can invite partners and developers to join us. In short, we want HMS ecosystem to do two things. On the one hand, we want to offer our own content to our smart device users. Therefore, we're building our own apps, such as the Huawei Music, Huawei Browser, Huawei Health, Huawei Video, etc. And on the other hand, we know that in order to give our 650 million users the ultimate experience of an intelligent life, they want your services. And that is why we have developed the App Gallery, an application store, but also a global distribution platform, a platform that makes it easy for you to connect with your customers. So we focus on making sure that the HMS ecosystem will support you all the way. So in this way, we can bring a better life experience to all our users when, how, and where they want it and need it. So far, the App Gallery has attracted over 1.4 million developers, and the number is actually growing every week. And it is really impressive to see the increasing number of apps that are being uploaded to the App Gallery outside of China on a daily basis. And this is also true for the financial service industry. So I think that our strong partnership with the global and local partners in the finance industry and our customers' loyalty to our products and services, that's the reason for this progress being possible. And I can promise you that we will continue to work hard, and we will continue to make sure that we are the best partner that we can be. As I mentioned so many times already, but it's so important because we know that your services are important to our users. And we are humble and respectful for the security measures, the data protection, the laws, the regulations that you have to fulfill. This means that we have something in common. Protecting our users' privacy and data security are Huawei's top priority. And that is why we have designed an end-to-end, fully secure ecosystem. We have organized more than 3,000 tech developers, and they are writing more than 100,000 valid codes every day. And that is why we, in such a short time, have been able to build 24 app kits. Naturally, we have focused on building strong kits for the finance industry as well. We see that up to 9 of them in particular are being used, from the basic service kit to the security kit, the IA service kit, and the innovation service kit. Some of them are similar to the kits that you already know and will find in other ecosystems, and others might be more competitive. I think the roadmap is impressive. But the really exciting part of this story is what the future will bring. Because remember, we have just started. In addition, we can offer the powerful on-device kits like the basic security kit, which prevents data leakage, upgrade to TEE, and data storage protection. Such as if a password or any other sort of data needs high protection, this is the kit that you should use. And we can also offer the local authentication kit with 3D face recognition, which is commonly used for things such as login and wallet lock. And 3D is much safer than 2D. And then you have the CAS kit, which makes it possible to include video calling and desktop sharing. So our security elements on our handsets are safeguarding all the financial apps. Firstly, our TE has been certified CC EAL 5+, to ensure your application is executed and protected in a trusted and secure environment. Secondly, with our comprehensive protection mechanism in the app gallery, we have put in place security measures in each phase, starting from registration, through app submission, installation, and even while it is being in use. So, for example, all applications are scanned for malicious behavior, vulnerability, and privacy invasive behavior. And thirdly, your data is distributed across our 4 data centers in order to serve different markets and to make sure we are GDPR compliant according to regional and local laws. The data is physically isolated in the region. The operation and the maintenance in Europe is also fully operated by the local European team. This is to ensure that whatever is in Europe stays in Europe. These measures are great for the users, but it sets high expectations to the developers to meet these high standards and quality that we set. So we do not thrive for quantity, we thrive for quality. Security is, of course, paramount and of high priority, but we are also aware of your long priority lists on the development side, and that you are concerned about the potential workload that might apply when joining the app gallery. We respect that, but keep in mind that the app gallery brings more choice for the consumer. And concerning the workload, I just want to emphasize that the HMS core is not that different. It will continue to run on the Android open source platform. So that means that you do not have to develop a brand new app version of your service. You have to swap the GMS app kit with our HMS app kit. You have to upload the app to the app gallery, and then you can continue to provide your users with your services. If your app doesn't use a GMS kit, well, then it's the easiest thing in the world. You take the original app, you upload it directly to the app gallery, and it's there for the user to use. So just think of the Huawei app gallery as an additional channel for you to reach more consumers, simple and quickly. We want to make it easy for you, and our experience so far is that most kits can be integrated in less than 3 working days, or even shorter, depending on the complexity of the kit. If the application uses 2 GMS kits, the HMS kit integration can be done in less than a week. And when the app is ready to being uploaded, it doesn't take us more than 3 days or even less to make it available for the user. Not only do we want to make it easy and safe to be part of this Huawei mobile services, but most of all, we want to see you succeed. Because we know that if you succeed, then we will succeed. So your partnership is very, very important to us. We want more consumers to enjoy your service. We want more consumers to know what you can offer them. And we want to be there supporting you in doing that. And we know that eyeballs drive money, so we can offer you 650 million of them. We can display your product or service in all our different windows, from the OOBE to the splash screen, to the top banner through selected apps where you can get personalized recommendations, or to the keyword search screen. We would also like to support you by including you in our marketing communications, from PR to large launch events, customer summits like this one, to our social media and influencer channels. Because we have a lot of different communities around the world. So let us combine our stories together and tell that stories to your local community or to the whole world. We also have offline possibilities, such as offline advertising in stores. So think about the opportunity. So we provide the devices and the ecosystem, and you provide the financial products and the services. We can also find ways to partner through opportunities such as card usage discounts or financial installments or payments. The possibilities are many. But for me and for us, the most important thing is that we are here for you. We are on the ground in 170 countries. We are here to partner with you, help you grow, support you on the technical challenges you might face. We are here to make sure our users get the best service they could dream of from you. Let us develop this ecosystem together. Let us give consumers more choice and better products. We want to support both existing but also new businesses in succeeding. And this is why we have created solutions that are so easy. They are so easy to use that we hope all of you want to join us in developing a better connected financial service ecosystem. And to show you how committed we are, we have set aside $10 million to support the finance service industry in building these amazing experiences and developing new business models. If you need support or help with your existing service, please reach out to our local representatives. And if you have new ideas that you want to explore further, please do not hesitate to contact me directly, because I cannot wait to get started exploring and developing together with you. We, Huawei, are here for the long run. So please let us together build a future that we can be proud of and that we can make really huge differences for our users in the future. Thank you for listening and giving me this opportunity to share our story with you. Before I leave you, I would like to share with you a partner story for you to better understand how it is to work with us at Huawei.
Hi everyone, and great to virtually meet you today. My name is Jason Hart, and I am the CTO of Trustonic. How many of you here today have heard of Trustonic? I thought so. Trustonic have been working very closely with Huawei Mobile Services for just over 1 year now, with the core objective allowing and enabling the Huawei development community to enable higher levels of security within apps, by way of providing a software component to enable hardware-backed security for the iTrusty operating system. Trustonic are the only third-party company in the world that enables this hardware-backed security for apps within the iTrusty operating system, Huawei's Secure OS. So we have an opportunity for us here today as a community to do something about this. This opportunity has never been so great as we move into the next evolution of technology. Centralized to decentralized business models, serverless, confidential compute, all of which will be accelerated by the adoption of 5G, and in turn create new ecosystems that will require new apps for us to create collectively. Some examples of use cases that we are now seeing this requirement for hardware-backed security for apps are MPOS, digital ID within automotive industry for car key sharing. This unique partnership between Trustonic and Huawei enables you as a community to easily consume leading security platform capabilities with full stack protection, and in turn enabling the required levels of security needed to make security default within the Huawei ecosystem.
With that, we have arrived at the end of the first day of program of this year Huawei FSI Summit. I hope to see you again the same time tomorrow through the same link. If you like to watch any of our webcasts again, they will be available very soon at the link you received from us. Thanks again and see you tomorrow. Take care.